It was your job to test bikes, and you rode a whole bunch. So what was your favorite drop bar bike of 2023? This is the question I put to 5 cycling editors from around the globe, including Cycling Weekly's Anne-Marije Rook from the Netherlands, Road.cc and Offroad.cc's Aaron Borrill from South Africa, Bicycling's Matt Phillips from the US, Cyclingnews's Josh Croxton from the UK, and Escape Collective's Dave Rome from Australia. In this video, they share their favorites and their reasoning behind them. I also rode a bunch of bikes this year, mostly gravel, but some road, bringing my gravel bike test tally to 63, 64, something like this. At the end of the video, I will tell you my favorite gravel bike of the year. I'll also put links to the bike test videos that I've done this year in the description below, along with links to each respective editor's site. Please take a second to subscribe. That helps me out. Now let's dig into the favorite bikes of the year from editors from around the globe.
Aaron Borrill, Road.cc, Offroad.cc. Good to see you, sir. How are you? And what was your favorite drop bar bicycle of 2023?
Ben, good to see you again. Always exciting to chat. And I've got a selection of bikes. So I'm going to go with my best road bike and then my best gravel bike. Diving straight in with road bikes. Cannondale Super 6 Evo 4. Not really a revolution, but rather an evolution. And I really appreciate that for many reasons, because the bike rode like a dream. And the only thing, I mean, riding the bikes back to back, I own a Super 6 Evo 3, so I had a really extensive reference point as to critique the bike. And it was fast, looked okay. Ride quality was pretty hard, but it kind of did the job. Super 6 Evo 4, Cannondale's managed to get some witchcraft going on this bike. They've sorted out the integration issues, which a lot of people had, especially on the front end with all the hoses exposed. They've stiffened the bottom bracket area, dialed in some magical compliance, which makes it feel like a magic carpet ride, threaded bottom bracket. They've narrowed the head tube. They've done some wizardry with the seat tube. The bikes look absolutely amazing. So it's ticked all the boxes on some of my concerns. But something that has really irked me with the brand is that there hasn't been a special sort of bike in the range. So there hasn't been what S-Works is to Specialized. And that's something which I thought should be addressed, and it kind of has been addressed now with the advent of Lab 71, which kind of just wrapped things up a little more. Really exquisite colorways, a very special nano resin carbon fiber layup called Series Zero, which is kind of one up on the high mod, a little lighter, but I think just a little bit more exclusive. I really think they've done a great job with the bike. I had one on long-term test.
I
Decided
just see it there behind you. I assume that's
I bought
Lab
it.
71.
Bought it off.
What more of an endorsement do you need than
Just
an editor
because
who has tested 100 bikes purchasing the bicycle?
it just hit all the markers for me. Super fast in a straight line, intuitive in the corners, brilliant descending and braking, and actually keeps up with the System 6 in many aspects.
E for effort and evolution of Super 6 Evo 4 Lab 71. Love it. Great pick. How about on the gravel side? What stood out for you this year?
I remember last time when we had this chat, I mentioned the YT Scepter, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, we both rode it in San Clemente. It was pretty awesome. I personally feel that suspension forks don't belong on gravel bikes anymore. I did like it in the beginning, but I think it does compromise the experience and takes away that sense of purity. For me, a bike that really, really excelled and something I didn't expect to win me over is the brand new Merida Silex. And I know it's a brand that is not well known in the States. I don't think Merida is actually sold in the States. And the brand itself doesn't get, I personally feel, doesn't get the validation it deserves. The bikes are just across the range, really, really good bikes, superb build quality, undercut most of their rivals by thousands. I sampled the Merida Silex 10K, which is the range topping model. It's the same bike that Anne-Marije actually piloted to UCI Gravel World Championship. To a certain extent, it's a bike that's pretty unassuming. Some might even say it's a little bland in terms of its visual drama. But when you get on the bike and you're riding it in a dynamic environment, everything comes together. It's got a 69.5-degree head angle, which I think is like the sweet spot for gravel bikes. Interestingly, it's got 180 millimeter rotors. There's space for a dropper post. There's room for 45 millimeter tires. And what they've done with the geometry is managed to combine off-road speed and compliance with the responsiveness and handling almost of a road bike. So,
wow, I mean, 69.5, that's pretty slack up front. I would argue that's more in the mountain bike handling.
yeah, I would say kind of on entry level into mountain bike head angle now, because they are going slacker. So kind of, yeah, it is pretty slack, but you don't really feel it. That's kind of the one thing that I felt. You don't feel that when you're riding on the road, because as you know, what they do with these launches is you ride the bike in a gravel setting, and then they'll stitch in like a day of tarmac. And sometimes with these bikes, you can feel that slack head angle stretching far out in front of you. And it wasn't the case with this. The bike was really stiff and responsive, very playful front end. And yeah, I enjoyed it on all the surfaces we managed to ride it on.
Aaron Borrill, great picks. Great to chat with you as always. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ben.
Anne-Marije Rook, U.S. editor of Cycling Weekly. What is your favorite drop bar bicycle of 2023?
It was a Trek Checkpoint ALR with a SRAM Apex Axis group set.
That's an interesting one. Aluminum bike, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Axis number 4 on the SRAM rung.
Yeah.
And very like certainly the most affordable electronic group. What did you like about the bike? What did you like about why so? Why is this your pick?
It's my pick because it's very easy to a $10,000 bike. Like obviously it's going to be a great handling bike. And this one just surprised me in how much I liked it. How nimble it was, how capable it was, how affordable it is. And I spent like a full month and a half on it and loved every ride I did on it. So every ride I came home, I'd be like, man, this bike, it's so fun to ride, even though, it's aluminum and I don't have any aluminum bikes in my stable. And I came away thinking that for most people, to save your pennies, buy an aluminum bike and get a really nice wheel set. Especially with electronic gearing at this, entry level price. It's got everything you would want for, an adventure bike. And you can upgrade over time, of course, but, bikes are expensive. And this bike will give you a lot of joy. It's very capable and, you won't break the bank.
I like it. Yeah, it's like you said, it's pretty easy to like a ludicrously expensive bicycle, and many of us who've been playing this game for a while sort of come to take it for granted that nice, beautiful bicycles just show up and you ride them. And how much does that cost? Like, I don't know. It just came in a box. I took it out of a box. I rode it. It was fantastic. But yeah, for me, sometimes being asked by random strangers like coming out of a hotel or whatever, like, oh, that's a nice bike. Oh, thanks. How much is it? Like, I'm embarrassed to say how much this costs. Yeah. And so to be able to recommend a bike like that, Checkpoint, yeah, that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I think in general, we're very fortunate that we get to ride some of the best bikes out there, but perhaps we should be spending more time on the, $3,000 price point and below and see what's out there and what people actually can buy. And that was my takeaway from riding that bike. It's like, I should be spending more time on bikes people are actually buying. To be honest, people that ride $10,000 bikes are probably given them, or they don't get them, they don't buy them at full price. So, perhaps spend more time on what people are actually out there riding and buying.
Yeah, love it. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Josh Croxton, tech editor at Cycling News. How are you, sir? And what was your favorite bicycle of 2023?
Hello. I'm well. I'm very good. Very Christmassy, mainly because I had no other clean jumpers. So, but don't tell anyone that.
You're in the spirit.
I am, but I'm good. And after much deliberation, I've gone with the YT Scepter. 2023 been a bit of a weird year of riding for me. Usually do a lot of racing, dabble in anything that I can compete in. A lot of the time that's on the road. This year I've done 3 races all year. So the year has been about riding for fun more than anything. And what more fun can you have on a bike than the YT Scepter? Front sus with a RockShox gravel fork. Decent tyre clearance, 45mm, if my memory serves. It's YT, it's a mountain biking brand. So they are coming at gravel from a different angle to most brands. I don't know. I just had a great time on it. I'm rambling.
That's what we're after, right? Having a great time. And I also had a lot of fun riding that bike. A very different, markedly different fit and feel than I am accustomed to. Like the first time I got on, I felt very upright. I wanted to put a longer stem. Like there's a wee little mountain bikey stem on there, and was told, hey, just try to ride it for a little while and see how it feels. And after I got over that initial hump, yeah, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah,
and not crazy amounts of travel. When we heard they were doing a gravel suspension bike, I was thinking like triple crown fork or something with just ludicrous 14 feet of travel. But no, it's reasonable. Like I can't remember if it was like at the 40 or 50 mil RockShox.
I think that it comes with a Rudy. I think they've got it set up with 40 as stock. Comes with the ETAP Explore group set, so you've got pretty decent gearing there. Finishing kit on it's good as well. It's zip for a lot of the components. Again, obviously coming from that SRAM line with RockShox and with the ETAP and with the Axis dropper post. It's great fun. It's set up for the type of riding that maybe it's because it's different for me. It's more progressive, more aggressive riding rather than the more road riding that I kind of come from.
Josh Croxton, tech editor, Cyclingnews, YT Scepter as the bike of 2023. Dave Rome, tech editor at Escape Collective in sunny Australia. How are you, sir? And what was your favorite drop bar bicycle of 2023?
I'm well, Ben, and my favorite drop bar bicycle was one I only just wrapped up the review of recently, and so perhaps it's top of mind, but it's also the bike that has left the biggest impression on me, and that is the new Specialized Tarmac SL8 Pro Ultegra Di2. I mean, the impression it left on me is basically simply down to the ride quality that it has. It's one of the most composed, smoothest riding, sort of most reactive feeling road race bikes I've ridden in memory. And how Specialized have achieved that is by basically seemingly leaving some aerodynamic gains on the table. So in many ways, you look at the frame and it kind of looks like the front end of an aero race bike tacked on to like a more traditional road bike with round tubes. I guess the lessons learned from their Athos platform. And but yeah, for me, it created a bike that I actually just loved riding.
I've always loved the Tarmacs. I've got 2 of them here in the garage. One is an SL4 from my stint at working at Specialized, where Mark, Cody, and I put together a little phrase, "Aero is everything." Sorry about that. That bike at the time was not the aero bike, and the "Aero is everything" phrase was for the Shiv. Anyhow, I've also got the SL7 as a tester, and that one is pushing towards aero bike territory. Still claiming to be like the all-rounder, but definitely leaning more on aero. I have not taste tested the 8. How different is the 8 from the 7?
See, I skipped the 7. I went from the SL. But I reached out to a handful of people that have tested the SL7, and they are similar for sure. So the SL8's a little bit lighter. It is a little bit stiffer under power, and miraculously, it's smoother. So, and I think a lot of that comes down to the use of those round tubes for the main tube sections. In terms of aerodynamics, they're kind of a wash. I mean, you need a pretty good calibrated wind tunnel to tell pick up the watt or so difference that's between them. The biggest difference is really the handlebar that's found on the S-Works version, that new one-piece handlebar that's giving most of the aerodynamic gains. And the cheeky thing is you can just put that handlebar onto an SL7 as well. So yeah, for me, it really comes down to that ride quality. That's why this bike stands out, and I think it's a bit of a daring move from Specialized after so many years of the whole aero is everything claim to have a new aero bike that isn't very, clearly isn't as aero as it can be, and then at the same time it's kind of also daring of them to have a bike that's now quite similar to the Athos in many ways. Like, the biggest difference other than aesthetics is the fact that the cables are no longer
internal routing. Yeah. So speaking of S-Works, why the Ultegra Di2 Pro version over the fancier?
I
S-Works?
honestly prefer to test the bikes that are somewhat more affordable than the top tier versions. So wherever possible, I'm always asking for the second tier or the third tier, because I believe those are the models that are sold more frequently and that more people will be interested to know about. From selfish reasons, it's also the model more similarly that I can afford. So yeah, I mean, it's the S-Works are clearly the pinnacle of what they offer, but it's not a bike I would be buying myself. And if you look at the volumes that Specialized do, I mean, they're not selling as many S-Works as they are the pros and the experts. So yeah, I always purposely request those cheaper models wherever possible, even though they sometimes leave some performance gains on the table.
Love the pick. Love the perspective. Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you, Ben. Thank you.
Matt Phillips, senior test editor at Bicycling, and a man who has tested perhaps more bicycles than anyone on earth, going back to starting your career in 1995. How are you, sir? And what was your favorite drop bar bicycle of 2023?
I'm well, Ben. Thank you. It's snowing here, which is bumming me out a little bit. But as you can see, I've got an indoor bike to ride, so I'm sure I'll be Zwifting later today. Favorite bike to ride this year? Drop bar bike, you asked, I believe. Ridden a lot of good bikes. I think I'm going to call my favorite, though, a Fuji SLA 1.3. It's a $2,000 bike. And I was super impressed with it because it gives you a lot of performance and a good-looking modern bike with a good feature set for $2,000, And I think it's really easy to get enamored with the really, really high-end stuff. I know I do. I've ridden some $15,000 road bikes this year that were just fantastic. I've got a Mosaic in right now that is amazing, among a number of other bikes. But I think, man, when someone makes a great riding, I shouldn't even say good, excellent, great riding bike that's $2,000, I think that's worth celebrating for sure.
What sort of group and wheels do you get at that $2,000?
So, in this time of madness, with supply chains still being affected by the pandemic and Shimano having some issues with delivery over the years, it does have Shimano 105 11-speed mechanical disc. Now, I've spoken to the product manager, that will get changed eventually, but the bikes are out there right now are the 11-speed group. I'm pretty sure that will get at the 12-speed 105 in the future, which I'm sure I haven't ridden the 105 12-speed mechanical yet, but I'm sure it's cool. I'm sure it's good. The Di2 stuff is fantastic. But yeah, so that bike will get upgraded. It's got like a really basic set of tubeless compatible aluminum rims on it from, I believe, Oval, which is kind of like the house brand of Fuji. Yeah, I'd have to look at the picture to remember. Like a lot of bikes at that price, there are some less fancy parts on it, but everything on it, all the stock parts work great, from the handlebar to the wheels. Even the tires, it came with some Vittoria tires that were pretty nice. But one of the nice things about that bike is it's a really good platform. Like, the frame and the geometry and the performance from the frame is really good, and you can leave it as it is, and it's awesome bike. I did, when I was testing it, I swapped on some really nice wheels. And, when you put on a nice wheel set with some nice rolling tubeless tires, it gets even better. So, it's something that you can upgrade and have, grow the bike's performance if you wish to spend more money on it. Kind of reminds me, I'm sure you remember back in the day, the Cannondale CAD series was like always that bike that you could get and kind of get at a pretty good price and then upgrade it. And then it was just like, every college kid and every crit racer in the world had that thing because it was such a good bike. Kind of reminds me of that, like good platform, easy, fairly easy to access price point, but also something that will grow with you if you want to throw some money at it and make, put on some nicer parts.
Fuji for $2,000, high value, high fun. Great pick. I appreciate it. Sounds like your alarms are blowing you up. I will let you get back to your day, but thanks for your time and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, and thanks for reaching out.
In 2023, I rode and raced a whole bunch of gravel bikes in a bunch of different spots around the U.S. I rode aero gravel bikes like the Factor Ostro at Unbound Gravel. I rode suspension gravel bikes like the Giant Revolt X at Wild Horse Gravel and the new Santa Cruz Stigmata with a RockShox Rudy fork. I rode and raced slack gravel bikes like the Argonaut GR3 at the first ever U.S. Gravel National Championships. And I raced and rode adjustable trail gravel bikes like the Ventum GS1 at the Mid-South. I also rode elastomer damp bikes like the Pivot Vault at Belgian Waffle Ride, Arizona, and the BMC ERS on the local trails here in Boulder, Colorado. So my bike of the year, the Lauf Sigla Rigid. As both Anne-Marije and Matt said, it's easy in some ways for a bike company to deliver an incredible ride when the cost is also incredible. Delivering a great bike at a great cost is a trickier thing. And I was really impressed with the Sigla on many fronts. One, you're getting a carbon frame, carbon fork, electronic drivetrain in the configuration of the new SRAM Apex Axis, and hydraulic braking with a ton of tire clearance for the price of, in the US at least, $2,600. That is a screaming deal. The bike is also very easy to live and travel with in that there is some internal routing, but a normal stem handlebar pops off easily for adjustment should you want to play with your stack and reach or put the bike in a case to travel. It's comfortable. The drop seat stays that we're seeing on a lot of bikes, it really does make a difference. No, the top tube doesn't move, but by having a bit of movement in the seat post and then even further down below in the seat tube, the thing bends and just enough to give you some cushion. There's huge tire clearance, but the bike doesn't feel sloppy or heavy the way some big tire gravel bikes do. I rode it mostly with just some 40s and it felt fine there. If you want to go bigger, there is plenty of room. So it's just a good middle of the road, high quality, relatively lightweight, it's like 20 pounds or so, size medium. Just a great all-around gravel bike that I'm happy to endorse, period. But then you add on the price and it's an outstanding gravel bike. So nice work to the folks at Lauf. I've been a fan of the company. I love the attitude of the Icelandic company. I was never really a fan of their Leaf suspension fork. So riding the rigid bike is maybe not the straight up the middle Lauf experience, but for me, it was a great one. So that is my gravel bike pick of 2023. What do you think about these bikes? What bike did you like this year? What bike are you curious about heading into 2024? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate the discussion that we have here, and I wish you all happy holidays as we're heading into the new year.